Freakishly smart falcons run these islands. The success of wild striated caracaras in a test suggests that the intellects of more bird species may be underestimated. If you heard there were faraway islands full of hyper-intelligent birds, you would be forgiven for assuming that they must be parrots or crows, the superstars of the brainy bird world. But travel to the Falkland Islands near the Argentine coast and you'll find not parrots or crows but freakishly smart falcons called striated caracaras. I kind of had a hunch that there is something special about these birds, said Katie Harrington, a behavioral ecologist at the University of Veterinary Medicine Vienna. By adapting a series of tests originally designed to assess cockatoo cognition, Ms. Harrington found that the caracaras can problem solve as well as parrots. The results were published Monday in the journal Current Biology. Ms. Harrington leads the Johnny Rook Project, an effort to study the Falkland falcons that got its name from the bird's local nickname. To compare the caracaras with other brainy birds, she adapted 8 tasks from a prior experiment that studied innovative problem-solving in Goffin's cockatoos. Of the 15 Johnny Rooks that Ms. Harrington tested, all solved at least one puzzle, and 10 of them figured out all 8, without any prior training. These caracaras actually solved tasks that some of the tool-using parrots couldn't solve, Ms. Harrington said. Some animals are understandably skittish around scientists and their strange equipment, which can make testing their intelligence difficult. With the caracaras, Ms. Harrington had the opposite problem. I had to literally run defense, she said, keeping curious birds away while another was being tested with a plexiglass puzzle box that challenged the caracaras to pull, push, swipe, poke or do whatever else they needed to do to access tasty bits of meat. Given how well they performed in this experiment and their general boldness, striated caracaras represent a promising new model species for studying bird cognition. They're absolutely worth studying, said Raquel Miller, a comparative psychologist at Anglia Ruskin University in England who was not involved with the research. Not many scientists have investigated the brain power of falcons, which are closely related to parrots and crows, the most famous feathered geniuses. Ms. Harrington attributes this to their bird of prey label, which implies a simple lifestyle of perch, hunt, sleep, repeat. But those who spend time with caracaras quickly learn that they don't have just meat on their minds. Falconers share these stories of how striated caracaras aren't like the other birds that they're trying to train, she said. You have to give striated caracaras dog toys to play with, Dr. Miller agrees that the bird world overemphasizes certain species. She found that recent studies of avian behavior and cognition have focused on just about 1% of 10,000 known bird species. I'm completely behind research that's expanding, going to other bird groups beyond the corvids and the parrots, Dr. Miller said. Ms. Harrington suspects that the caracaras evolved their cunning to cope with the tough conditions of life on the Falkland Islands. In the summer months, caracaras can feed on seabird colonies, but when those birds migrate in the winter, the falcons are kind of like out of luck, Ms. Harrington said. Curiosity and ingenuity could help a hungry caracara find a meal in lean times. Their daring ways have gotten the falcons in trouble with the sheep farmers of the Falklands. They have historically faced persecution, Ms. Harrington said. They're actually used to be a bounty on their beaks. These days, public perception has motivated legal protections for the birds. This is important because while their brilliance may make them seem poised for world domination, striated caracaras have a limited range. They're found only on the outer islands of the Falklands and Tierra del Fuego, at the southern end of South America. Ms. Harrington wants to continue testing their powerful brains. She hopes to parse individual differences between the birds in how they tackle the puzzle box and also retest some birds a year after the experiment to see how strong their memories are. And given how social caracaras are, Dr. Miller wonders if there's a chance they could learn to solve problems by watching one another. By studying the birds, there's this whole other door that we can open for comparative cognitive research, Ms. Harrington said. Given their sharp claws and even sharper minds, don't be surprised if these falcons figure out how to open that door themselves. The genes that make parrots into the humans of the bird world. Long-lived and clever parrots may be as different genetically from other birds as humans are from other primates. A macaw named Poncho starred in movies like 102 Dalmatians, Dr. Dolittle and Ace Ventura, Pet Detective before retiring in England. She recently celebrated her 90th birthday. Alex, an African grey parrot who lived to 31, knew colors, shapes and numbers and communicated using basic expressions. He could do what toddlers only do after a certain stage of development, know when something is hidden from view. And there are just 2 of the many parrots in the world who have surprised us with their intelligence, skills and longevity. Nature does these experiments for us and then we have to go and ask, how did this happen? Said Dr. Claudio Mello, a neuroscientist at Oregon Health and Science University. So he and a team of nearly 24 scientists looked for clues in the genome of the blue-fronted Amazon parrot in Brazil, his home country. After comparing its genome with those of dozens of other birds, the researchers' findings suggest that evolution may have made parrots something like the humans of the avian world. In some ways, the long-lived feathered friends are as genetically different from other birds as humans are from other primates. Their analysis, published Thursday in Current Biology, also highlights how 2 very different animals, parrots and humans, can wind up finding similar solutions to problems through evolution. Like the Science Times page on Facebook, sign up for the Science Times newsletter. A general rule of lifespan in birds and other animals is the bigger or heavier you are, the longer you live. A small bird like a finch may live 5 to 8 years, while bigger ones like eagles or cranes can live decades. The blue-fronted Amazon and some other parrots are even more exceptional, in that they can live up to 66 years, in some cases outliving their human companions. In their analysis, Dr. Mello and his colleagues found that these parrots and some other long-lived birds shared changes in a set of 344 genes that seem to be involved in various processes that influence lifespan, like how an animal's body repairs DNA, manages cancer or controls cell growth. While about 20 of these genetic changes have been implicated in aging in other animals, the rest of the gene's direct role in lifespan has not been investigated. Future studies may reveal that they are not just important to aging in parrots or other long-lived birds, but in other animals as well. Parrots are distinguished not only by their longevity, but also by their cognitive abilities. They're really smart animals, and the brains are particularly big. We seem to see a parallel in humans that have bigger brains and enhanced capacities compared to other animals, he said. We think parrots are the parallel in the avian world. The team found changes in parts of the parrot genome remarkably similar to those that set humans apart from other primates. This intrigued Dr. Mello. The similar changes found in parrots and humans aren't to the genes themselves, but occur along regions of the genome that regulate the expression of nearby genes that seem to play a role in brain development and intelligence. Could these changes explain the parrot's large, complex brain and diverse set of talents? Only by looking at specifics can we find out. While it's relatively simpler to quantify age and see how various genetic changes might alter it, it's harder to assess how tiny switches turning on and off at certain times might alter the size of a parrot's brain, or how well it can impersonate Matthew McConaughey. By looking at specifics in the genetic changes of parrots and humans, researchers in the future may develop a better understanding of the powers of convergent evolution. Perhaps there is only one path that leads complex brain structures and advanced cognitive abilities like those of parrots and humans. Or it could be that there is more than one evolutionary route capable of producing such complex creatures in different parts of the animal kingdom. In some ways, the freakishly smart falcons run these islands. The success of wild striated caracaras in a test suggests that the intellects of more bird species may be underestimated. If you heard there were faraway islands full of hyper-intelligent birds, you would be forgiven for assuming that they must be parrots or crows, the superstars of the brainy bird world. But travel to the Falkland Islands near the Argentine coast and you'll find not parrots or crows but freakishly smart falcons called striated caracaras. I kind of had a hunch that there is something special about these birds, said Katie Harrington, a behavioral ecologist at the University of Veterinary Medicine, Vienna. By adapting a series of tests originally designed to assess cockatoo cognition, Ms. Harrington found that the caracaras can problem solve as well as parrots. The results were